Hey guys, and welcome to a new tanking spec for a rogue. So I've already done one tanking spec on this channel and I thought it was time for another one. Now today's spec is very similar to that of the other tank spec that I did, so I won't go into quite as much detail as I did in the other one, as you can just go back and watch that instead. So I'll post a link in the description for that. But don't worry, you don't have to watch that one because I will still go through the basics and a couple other things so you'll get what you need to know. So the souls and points for the spec are, when it loads, 7 Bard, 8 Tactician and 61 Riftstalker. So compared with the other tanking spec, this one will give slightly less health but will give you a bit more mitigation and tons more DPS if you do it right. Just so you can understand how much that DPS increases. With the old spec I used to get about 3k DPS on a particular set of mobs, and then I recalculated with this spec where I got about 9 to 10k DPS. So quite a big difference, to be honest. So now we know the souls for the spec. I'll go through the abilities and macros. Now, we only have two macros. One is your teleporting kind of macro, and the other is our point builder. So I'll just find them so we can go through them. Here's our point builder. So just copy this, and I like it in my second, so my number 2 ability. So this is just going to be the ability that you spam just for threat and just dealing overall damage. And then our movement one, which is here, tank movements. So also copy this. This is just all of our jumps, so you can just teleport behind bosses and stuff like that. So there's those two macros, the only two macros. So usually I just use number 1 just to engage into the fight and then use it whenever possible. We then have Guarded Steel, which is just a finisher which will give extra armor. A second finisher which is Wrath of the Plains, which will reduce enemies' hit chance by 5% for a certain amount of time. And our third finisher, Power of the Plains, which will increase your weapon damage and attack power. We also have two abilities to help keep aggro. Planar Attraction, which will teleport 5 enemies to you and also force them to attack you, and then Instigate, which will force one guy to attack you. And then these 3 abilities, which will make you more tanky, so you should reduce the stress of the healer's job. Planar Refuge and Scatter the Shadows will both reduce the damage you take for a short amount of time. And Plane-Bound Aegis, which will give you a big ass shield for a small amount of time, and will heal you if any of the shield is left. Just a few more abilities left. Necrotic Core, just for some extra DPS, mainly for groups of mobs. Motive of Bravery, which does as it says. Soul Coalescence, which will also mean you take less damage. These two, which I don't ever use, I don't think. No, I never use them, so these aren't really needed. These 3 are pretty self-explanatory. And finally, Necrotic Torrent, which is your massive AoE damage ability. And also the buffs. Basically activate all of them apart for Planar Splash, which is this one, when it is single target. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the rotation really quickly, as it's really not that hard. The most simple rotation is first macro into spamming of the second macro. Once at 5 combo points, Power of the Plains first, next would be Guarded Steel, and then Wrath of the Plains. Just always try to keep each finisher buff on you, so you could use Cruel Alert or other similar tracking systems just to help you with that. Also during the fight, just use all the other abilities as appropriate. They are pretty easy to figure out. For example, the damage reduction buff. Use the damage reduction buffs when the boss uses strong abilities, or just use them whenever, just to make the healer's job easier. You just have to use your common sense and you should be fine. Also, if you feel like you have enough aggro from a group of mobs, I usually just spam Necrotic Torrent just for tons of DPS, and you end up getting fights done a lot quicker. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful, and if it has, please like and subscribe if you wish to. Also, make sure that you put some constructive criticism below so I can improve videos for the future. And remember, the link is in the description below if you want to see the other tank video. So yeah, hopefully I'll see some of you in future uploads, but peace for now.